everyone, and welcome to RTE 2021. I hope you were enjoying day one of the conference. Welcome to this session in the business track, The Future of Broadcasting and OTT. My name is Todd Embley. I am the Senior Startup Advocate here at Agora, and I will be your host for today's session, sitting backstage and in the chat room to help answer any questions. Now, I'm proud to introduce today's moderator for the session, Brad Altfest, Managing Director of Business Development, Media, and Entertainment. Brad is a media technology professional with over 20 years of experience in designing, integrating, and selling large-scale production, post-production, and content distribution systems. Brad has spent the majority of his career on the technology side, working directly for media and entertainment companies, and more recently pivoted into bi-directional real-time engagement via social audio and social video. I'm really excited for the session today and hope you are too. Brad, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you so much for that introduction, Todd. Much appreciated. Welcome to our panel discussion on the future of broadcasting and OTT. For those new to the concept, OTT, or over the top, very simply means broadcast a video online rather than through the traditional linear feed. But that's still largely been a one-way lean-back experience, which is both not very exciting and fails to really exploit the true potential of the technology and interactivity inherent in the modern use of the web. Today, we're going to focus on 3 technology partners that have built a variety of solutions, ranging from broadcast control room in the cloud to extended reality in live performance venues, and a number of end viewer social features and experiences. Today, we will be talking with the SVP of Solutions at TVUNetworks, Jared Timmins. We will also be talking with the CEO of NexStreaming, Carlos Lucas. And finally, the CEO of VisualOn, Yang Tsai. I'll be giving each panelist I just mentioned a chance to introduce themselves directly and their company, and then we can get into the spirited discussion between industry leaders. Jared, please take it away.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to have this conversation. I think we're in probably an unprecedented and certainly fascinating time when it comes to media technology. I've been in this industry doing things like systems integration, worked for some of the largest traditional broadcast vendors in the industry, and then moved over to TVUNetworks. And I've just never seen the pace of change move as fast as it's moving right now. And we're seeing all kinds of different trends with sports production and the way that fan engagement and the fan journey is being introduced. And what we think is a new phenomenon that we're calling user-generated content as infrastructure. Because now that we have all of these cloud-enabled or fog devices that we can put in different locations, the utilizations that you can provide from those devices are now completely bidirectional, completely immersive, completely personal in the experiences that we can create. And we started out working with Agora with a product we call Partyline about a little over a year ago. And back in March, right after everything shut down. And the first thing we heard from all of our broadcast customers that we were working with to get their video signals up on air was that commodity conferencing environments just weren't working to be able to get what broadcasters need in the terms of scale, in the terms of latency, in the terms of quality. So utilizing the technology, we were able to build out a solution that has since been used for the Latin Grammys, the Critics' Choice Awards, the NBA draft, the NFL draft, and many other forms, from hundreds or thousands of people involved in an event, or to just 2 people at a very important news interview session that they're doing. What we found is that this technology is enabling a kind of connection at a price point that is universal and can be used from streamers that are doing it in their spare time all the way up to the largest networks and the largest events, and be versatile and flexible because of the nature of the infrastructure to handle that. And so we think that you'll see over the next few years, we think that you'll see broadcast production in the cloud start to look and feel, both operationally and technically, a lot more like a game engine, and the ability to bring all of these cameras. We always say that the best camera is the one that's in your hand. And if you're at a game, you may have an angle that no one else has, but not only do you have that angle, but you also have the front-facing camera that's recording you. We have the 3-axis accelerometer data, so we're able to do very interesting things with the cloud, with fog, with data. And I think that commodity technology will overtake what has been very specialized and professional in broadcast I would say in the next 5 years. So really excited about the discussion, really excited about where this kind of technology is allowing us to take our customers.
Well, thank you, Jared. I really appreciate that. Next up, I want to introduce the CEO of NexStreaming. Oh, Carlos.
Yeah, thank you, Brad. Thank you. So, I'm the CEO of NexStreaming. So we at NexStreaming have been in the market for around 20 years now. That's a long time, but we have been always doing the same, which is video player software technology. Basically, the player you need to enjoy video streaming in different kind of devices. So we started providing our player technology to handset makers. Companies like LG, Samsung, Motorola, Sony Ericsson were integrating our player software inside the handsets. And later on, when the application business started, we moved our technology to be integrated into apps. So our customers integrated that streaming player technology into the Android and iOS apps. And today, we support almost every single device, smart TVs, gaming consoles, Xbox, PlayStation, and recently, for example, also Nintendo Switch. So it's always player technology. We focus only on this technology. And since we are only part of the client side, we always need to partner with good companies on the backend side. And that's Agora is a very good example for that. And very happy to be here today in this discussion.
All right, Carlos, I really appreciate that. Thank you. And last but certainly not least, Yang Sai.
Thank you, Todd. It's great to be here. So my name is Yang Kai. I'm a co-founder and CEO of VisualOn. We are a streaming video company that optimizes the player's impact on the user experiences. So actually, our background and history is very similar to NexStreaming. The company was founded in 2003 in Silicon Valley. So initially, we were developing a market optimized software video codecs. At the time, it was H.264 on mobile devices. And then we expanded our product line to cover the complete multimedia stacks for device manufacturers. So at that phase, we were mainly targeting the smartphone makers, and we're actually pretty successful. We have all the major smartphone makers as our customers, except Apple and Samsung. So started about 10 years ago, we're getting into the streaming space. Our first customer is Motorola at that time. So since then, we mainly focus on working with the top tier major players in this space. So we counted the top two OTT service providers, Netflix and Amazon Prime Video as our customers, as well as I think over half of the top 10 mobile carriers in the world. We have in the US, we have Verizon, AT&T, we have China Mobile in China, and then Korea Telecom in Korea, KDDI in Japan, and also Telefonica in Europe and Latin America. So we really focus on enabling these companies to provide reliable and scalable services to the end users. And we offer two product lines. One is based on our fully customized proprietary technologies, and the other one is a compatible solution with the platform players, media stacks. So, for example, EXO player on the Android devices, and also the iOS AV players. And on top of that, we provide advanced features, things like low latency, adaptive night vision that can improve the viewing experience under different environments. Also, multi-stream synchronized playback. And also recently, we work with Agora to integrate real-time interactions like watch party, etc. So in addition to provide the technology and product to the customer, we really work closely with the customers as a team, because as you know, the streaming is a relatively new technology and space. There's a lot of complexities, and we have a lot of technology coming into the market every day. It's very easy for something to go wrong in the process. and it always show up in the player. So we end up had to spend a lot of time to debug and review the problems, and then figure out where it went wrong, and work with the customer to fix and advise them to the best way to do this. So we really work with them as a partners, and for that we also provided tools and technologies like user experience analytics, and also a remote lab for people to be able to test their streams and their contents on different devices, different locations, etc. So the goal of the company is really to partner with innovative companies like Agora to provide the single-stop best solution for OTT streaming services. It's great to be here.
Well, thank you so much, and we're very happy to have you. Well, I appreciate that. Well, guys, let's get into it. You know, the evolution to replace broadcast has been and remains very long. You know, we've been talking about clickable, links on a video canvas since the days of Friends. For those of you that remember Jennifer Aniston's sweater, right? That was going to take you to the Gap website and be able to buy it. Never quite happened that way, although now suddenly we have live shopping as part of the live RTE experience. Obviously, the trends have been accelerated by COVID. In particular, I know we saw a huge uptick in things like the desire for things to be moved into the cloud that used to require in-person presence. What are some of the trends that you're all seeing in the market? Jared, do you want to go?
Sure, happy to. I think we're seeing a content proliferation explosion. I think what happened with COVID probably pushed the technology curve that we were already going through in the broadcast industry, at least, out by about 18 to 24 months, which was really devastating, I think, to a lot of people who weren't ready to really move their cloud or their software to cloud-capable, elastic environments. And so what we've seen happen is we've seen what used to be a necessity, now that things are slowly starting to open up, become a tool set that broadcasters have learned to say, well, now when it comes to content proliferation, I have these digital tools. I have this immersive capability to bring people together, to create content at a fraction of what it used to cost me when I was putting people on site. I'm no longer dependent because I've built workflows where I can put people located anywhere to do any kind of broadcast task. So it's opened up this both operational user base as well as the ability to bring talent in from anywhere. And it's really let this, I would say, this new next generation of user-generated content and creativity around what you can do in these environments really shine through. And we've seen some really interesting utilization cases in sports, in entertainment, in game shows, and even in content creation, where we have a saying that we say like community production or social production, because what it really has democratized the way that people can come together, build quality content. And I think it's kind of an arm race right now. And the interesting thing is the fundamentals that people need to be able to make broadcast grade technology is affordable for almost anyone now. And so we're seeing podcasters, we're seeing these multi-channel news environments, we're seeing a higher grade use of media across corporate communications where everyone is utilizing media like a broadcaster would, but it's bigger than broadcast. And then for us, what we've really been focusing on is this personalization. So you want to proliferate content, and to your point, right, with Jennifer Aniston's sweater, with the pause and purchase technology and all of that, right, we want that to be focused to the individual that's consuming that. And when you can make those experiences not just tailored to the individual, but tailored to the context of maybe I have 20 people who are remotely all getting together to watch this event that they've purchased digital tickets to, and now they can have a contextually meaningful experience, including the commentation that they listen to that is directed to the kind of, maybe if it's an all-adult group or if you have families, you can have these kinds of different experiences where you can be together digitally with people. And I think that was the way we had to do things. Now it's become a icing on the cake of ways we can make additional money across all of the variants of broadcast. And we've really seen an explosion of people taking those concepts that they've learned at a very reduced rate of what they were spending prior to COVID, and figuring out that people don't really care about the way that things were done in the old way of broadcast, and that the additional experience I get from having interactivity with the content I'm working with is actually more valuable than the highly produced content that we used to all rely on. So for us, I think it's a bit of a user-generated content revolution that's happening, and what it means to actually contribute to the television program that you're watching, be a part of the television program that you're watching, and then all of the other peripheral things that come into play that help you personalize and monetize those things. So I think it's just the beginning, and for us, we're just seeing a significant uptick in the way that people are adopting that kind of technology in broadcast.
Well, thank you, Jared. It's really interesting. I mean, there's a couple different components that you're really talking about there, right? So first, there's just the push to move things into the cloud, make the production less onerous as far as what needs to be done at the last mile, both in terms of people and production resources. And then on the other end, we're also really talking about being able to provide much more sophisticated viewing experiences than we ever were going to be able to on the broadcast feed. And really, that's still largely a blue ocean. I mean, there are experiences that we're just beginning to start to think about, start to deploy now. So, Carlos, I'm going to actually turn to you. I know that over at NexStreaming, you have in the Next player, you are building out some new functionality. For example, things like multi-camera view. Also, the ability to do things like graphics overlay in real time in the player. I'd love for you to talk a little bit about that, if you don't mind.
Yes, thank you, Brad. So if you look, I mean, Jared was explaining that now contents will come eventually from different sources. You know, traditionally maybe they were just coming from the broadcaster, but now we see, as Jared said, user-generated content, so it will come from different angles. The industry will change a lot. So on our side, which is the playback side, we see also the trend of enjoying video contents in many, many more devices. So not only in your phone or not only in your PC, of course, smart TVs, but also now gaming consoles, even Nintendo Switch. We see also that these kind of additional devices for smart TVs, like set-top boxes, additional devices, will not grow that much because the televisions, the TV sets will become smart everywhere with the possibility to install applications there. So we see that part growing. And then in terms of new services, now that you can enjoy video streaming almost in every single device, even in your Xbox, in your PlayStation, where you used to just enjoy playing games, you can now watch a soccer game while you are playing FIFA or any other game there. So that convergence is coming. And yeah, you were mentioning, for example, multi-view. Multi-view is also a very nice use case. Now that the possibility to enjoy video streaming is consolidated, you can go for advanced services. This one is something that we are going to launch in Canada with one of our customers there. And it's basically the possibility to enjoy a hockey game from different camera angles. The end user will be able to choose which camera he or she wants to enjoy. Or in Japan, for example, early this year, we made a project where you were able to enjoy a concert and select which one from the artists on the stage you wanted to follow. So if you wanted, you could see only the person playing the drums, for example. So those kind of interactivities are coming up. And there is a very, very fine-tuned and optimized technology behind that because, for example, you need to synchronize the different video streams. You need to synchronize the interactivity, the actions of the end user with the video content. And yeah, that's, for example, an area where we are partnering with Agora by making sure that the video content is arriving at the same point of time for all the people participating in the video chat so that whenever they talk, they discuss, it makes sense for everyone because everyone is watching exactly the same content at the same point of time. So definitely in our eyes, we have very good grounds to play video everywhere. So now is the time for interactivity, advanced graphics, and new evangelization for new use cases to the end users.
All right, Carlos, thank you. I really appreciate that. Young, as far as VisualOn goes, I know that we had talked about a lot of different things that you have going on, some new customers you have launching, and really just in general talking about the need to support scale as well as quality. I'd love to hear your take on some.
Yeah, thank you. So I think OTT really compared to traditional broadcasting provide the audience the freedom to watch whatever content they want anytime and anywhere on any devices. And with the real-time communication technologies, that really opens up the space even much broader. So some of the activity we have done in the recent past, including we are launching a Watch Party app with a customer in Japan, so they would allow basically the subscriber to the opera shows and theaters, etc., to invite their friends to, even if they're not subscribers, to enjoy the show together with them. And we just recently in August we just launched a multi-stream streaming feature with KDDI. So that's a high school girls baseball game. So they, on your screen, you can see multiple angles at the same time. They're all playback synchronously, and then you can click which angle you want to see. They really provide the freedom for the user to select what they want to see at any time. And before that, we also do something similar with Korea Telecom, and that's for K-pop musical show. And also, I think 2 years ago, we have a second screen application with KDDI. So basically, when the user is watching the content playback at the main screen, they can, on their second device, a smartphone or tablet, to look at synchronously, to look at different content sources, like for example, other games that are playing at the same time, also statistics about the player and the game, etc. And we also did a proof of concept with French Telecom last year for the French Open tennis tournament. So the user can see multiple games playing on the same time. And again, that's a synchronizer, and you can pick and choose which game you want to watch. And this is not just synchronized on your device, on a single device, but it's on multiple devices. So if you have a big screen TV, or you have multiple TVs and a sports bar, for example, you will see the playback synchronized, not out of sync. And we did similar things with Verizon before, so sort of like a video wall, multiple videos at the venue that are display advertisements, or you have a huge screen with multiple screens actually synchronized between composed of multiple screens. So you want to play back the video across different screens at the composite, the larger screen, and that for that application, the synchronization really has to be very, very accurate up to the frame level. So we believe that this kind of new features experience getting more and more popular as users. This is really turning the user from just a passive observer to a proactive, actively engaged with the content, and also with the other audience, their friends in the same watch party, for example. They can communicate through checkbox or emojis, or talk to each other, and even share videos, etc. So I think there's a lot of activities going on, and I think in general we're seeing that it's not so much as OTT replace broadcasting, but so that the broadcast and OTT is converging into one, and the real-time communication really increased the user engagement to provide an immersive experience, and that provide a lot of I think a lot of opportunity for the service provider to maximize their returns on their services.
Absolutely. And, for folks that are in the audience, I don't know if you've noticed, but we have our first poll. What sport would you want to have a camera angle option for? Kind of a fun thing to think about, but it's certainly something that is coming up with increasing frequency, as are the needs, for example, to synchronize between devices, and also to be able to synchronize both different video sources and different data sources in real time to create both real second screen applications, and also to do like meaningful data overlay. I think these days, you're in the sports space, we're all used to the the newscaster at night being able to pull up a virtual playing field and, run through something that was done previously in a game that everybody was interested and excited by. And, oh, what if we had done this instead? And let's pull up some stats. Well, why should that only be the privilege of the sportscaster? These days you have super fans that are frankly as engaged, if not maybe even more, have their own opinions. And so what's beautiful about that, and, this is why I like Jared's idea of, UGC as an infrastructure, that's really creating a whole new content channel for you. And frankly, one that can be virtually free to produce for you. And there's any number of things you could do to encourage that engagement as well, right? Like, hey, run a little promotion, get your, shoot at home package, a little tripod and a ring light or something. And, you've just enabled your super fans to do exactly what they want to do, which is influence, right? So, we've talked a lot about this from a little bit of a technical feature, theoretical perspective. I'd love to get into, what are some of the new avenues available to us for monetization as a result of these new technologies and these new experiences that they enable? Jared, do you want to take that? I know you have some interesting things going on over there.
Sure. I think one of the most interesting things is, especially in the sports workflows, is this additional digital VIP access as part of the ticket. So we're working with Ticketmaster and a bunch of the other ticketing organizations to allow our leagues and our customers that we're working with to embed SDKs into their app, the same app you would order food to the place you're sitting to bring you like a hot dog during the game. You can also now be present in other elements that you would have never have access about. I mean, initially when we started this whole thing of, hey, we got to get everyone digitally together in Zoom or in Teams or in any of our tool sets, I think the first thing was just, hey, we need to be able to communicate. But now people are so accustomed to it that having these digital sub-experiences to the normal game and then being able to utilize that video, audio, metadata, like you were just talking, across the broadcast and the streaming spectrum, I think are really interesting. So we call it the fan journey. So a fan can be sitting in the football stadium. They can order, their food and their beer to their seat. And then when it comes time for the players to get ready to run out of the tunnel, they're automatically moved into a kind of high five cam where they've purchased that access to be able to like cheer on the players, have a conversation, digital high five. The moment that the players walk out, they're moved to LED screens that are now being augmented and built inside of these stadiums for that digital experience purpose, where the broadcast camera is shooting the digital fans that are also available, that are kind of cheering the players as they run out of the gate. And then the moment that's done, you could join a watch party where you have friends that you're in the game watching with, that you've given digital access to, that are at home or maybe on the other side of the stadium, right? And then we've also seen the same kind of infrastructure. Once you have these digital access points, these UGC access points, you can do all kinds of things with them, like the shot that we've all seen in sports before, where they take the local bar when the touchdown happens and everyone's celebrating. Well, that's a kiosk that you put at that bar that is utilizing cellular technology on an iPhone or an iPad, and you're able to bring that back, have that accessible into the broadcast domain, so it's in the truck. It can be put on the switcher. It can be sent out to the network that utilizes it, and it just gives all of these different drop-in experiences. But then for the people that are even tailgating, they may be able to purchase an experience where a legend player comes to their tailgate at halftime and talks to all of their friends. And so there's all kinds of these additional augmentations to in-person events that we're seeing a lot of adoption in the monetization. It's not just theoretical, it's working and it seems valuable, and people seem to really enjoy the access that they get even when they're there at the game. But then on the other side of this, you always will pay more for those things that are custom and tailored to you. And so being able to take even like news content and to be able to bring in people from home to ask their opinions, to almost have like a live audience that can be part of that interaction, like some of the older shows used to be, or even what we're seeing now, to your point about super fans, is where we have a lot of YouTubers that are now utilizing this technology, or Twitch streamers that are utilizing this technology, and now they have direct access to their fans on their terms, as opposed to through the platform that they're streaming on. And now those platforms that they're streaming out to can just be derivatives, and they can bring their fans in. They can even have their fans participate as operators in the event when they want to do these big events as well. So it's it's this, we say no skills anymore, just talent, because you can make things so easy that anyone can become a streamer and any fan can participate in any way. And now that we have that flexibility of format, you've seen all kinds of different monetization models, direct monetization from the fans, and then being able to stream those things out to multiple syndication points. So for us, I think we're just scratching the surface on how we can create unique experiences and how we can monetize them.
Well, speaking of that, I know I said I wasn't going to share, but I lied. I'm going to share something with everybody right now. This is actually a project you guys did. So this is what's called a fan wall, or also something that we would refer to as extended reality, which just the concept alone blew my mind when I first came upon this. And just to describe to the audience what you're actually seeing here, so we're talking about being able to take remote audience participants and put them literally into the live production in the live production venue. So what you're seeing is the presenter with a fan wall behind him. And in fact, what that really is a video wall. And the fan wall consists of the socially triggered cameras for the audience members that wanted to participate and actually watch the show live. So it's sort of like the same way that when people go to see Dancing with the Stars, they dress up, they want to fit in to that environment. Same thing here. You actually had the opportunity to be a part of the awards show. And that was an experience that was powered by Agora and integrated by TVU. So, it's really interesting to think about, what those unique experiences are. And I can't necessarily off the top of my head think of a way to monetize that per se, except, hey, maybe if you have enough super fans that want to, trigger their camera, you could sell an opportunity to get there. But, I'd love to hear from some of the other panelists. Maybe Carlos, can you touch a little bit either on, those unique experiences, generating UGC, or even just ways that you've found you have been successful at monetizing them for your customers?
Yeah, thanks, Brad. So in our case, when I think about new ways of monetization, we have customers who were providing apps based on pure graphics or pure text or pre-recorded streams with a certain combination of graphics, like the one you were showing right before. So we were helping those customers to include video streaming combined with those graphic-based apps and text-based apps. So at the end, I remember, for example, one company who was making games, and they were actually monetizing a lot later on, not selling gaming items like a new weapon or a new life for the player, but selling video contents, selling video files by combining this video player, actual video playback capability with the graphics. So, for example, the snapshot, Brad, you were showing right before, this is something that we can do in runtime on the player side now by having an application which is including static graphics and dynamic video content. So this is a new technology. It's quite new on our side, but we see a big trend on that one. And as you said before, it's opening really very new ways of monetization, because suddenly you can also sell video contents as part of those graphic-based applications.
Right on. And then, circling back again, if you guys don't mind, I want to be a little blue ocean for a moment. So, we're talking a lot about the future of OTT here. And really what we're talking about is both the technology migrating and changing, right? So up till now, the one-way experience, the way to get your content out there, whether it was on demand or live, you had to pre-encode your content. You had to come up with an encoding profile to represent adaptive bitrate. Then after that, you needed to bring a CDN or multiple CDNs into the mix. As we've all seen, that can sometimes be a bit of an error-prone process, at least if you're not, performance-based load balancing. So what we see here is very much RTE becoming the future of OTT, and not just because of all the social interactivity that it provides, but also because it's really replacing some of these, well, let's call them older distribution layers that, again, can sometimes, struggle, especially under difficult last mile delivery conditions. So, Jan, I know that you had talked a lot about scalability and reliability. What are you really seeing in this market space looking at RTE and real-time video delivery versus OTT as almost a technical process?
Well, I think scalability and reliability is still a very challenging issue, even for OTT based on the HTTP technology, because you really rely on the situation of the network. There's no guarantee. So with RTE, we can provide a much better service guarantee to the end users. I think the challenge for now is still that whether we can scale this up to a much larger scale, like the OTT scale, hundreds of thousands or millions of users at the same time, cost effectively. And that I think there's a lot of progress being made in there. We will see that in the future. And I think the benefit of introducing real-time technology into OTT is really that we can integrate, or the OTT service provider can integrate the social interaction of the audience with the content and with the other audience into their platform, so that as users engage more with the contents, they share more their emotions, their feedbacks, and their discussions. So the service provider can collect a lot more data than just past watches of the content, and those data can be made to good uses. For example, Netflix was using their feedback from data to optimize their contents. You can, based on the user input, you can assess whether the program is successful or not, and what needs to be adjusted to get better results, and what type of user want to see what type of contents, and also provide opportunity for real-time e-commercial commercial. For example, if you watch a movie and you like the dress of your favorite actress, you can click on it, and you will be able to go to the online market to purchase the dress at the same time. So there are many potential opportunities down the road. I think I agree with the previous commentators that this is only the beginning, and we have a long way to go there.
You know, one of the interesting things is even the paradigm shift as far as the playback device itself, right? I mean, when you started thinking OTT, you know, you still were thinking primarily going to your home theater, your biggest screen in the house, and there is certainly still the use case for that, and that is still very much, you know, let's lean back here, right? I mean, even if you wanted to interact with that, like, how are you going to do that with the remote that came with your television? Like, that's could be a little clunky, right? And there's no real standardization there yet. There's a lot of fragmentation in that side of the market. So really, what's the most appropriate device? I mean, it's the one that we all carry with us all day, every day, right? In part because it's an inherently interactive experience. It's one that we're used to having, and you know, the ability to control it, interact with it by voice, by touching, even drawing on a screen. You know, that's all just natively available in the platform. And so what's interesting there is that also changes a lot of the expectation, right? We're not necessarily going to expect this high quality, but we are going to expect immediacy. And so that's also one of the reasons why we think that it pairs really nicely with the RTE space. And I think really the next question becomes, look, we've been walking around with always on, always connected devices for a long time. But I think the next, you know, blue ocean is really, well, what are the new 5G use cases? And, you know, I'm curious, have any of you guys been thinking about that?
Certainly. Yeah, we've been doing a ton with 5G. We just did for a very large sports league. We did a summer program with them where they did all of their production, 12 iPhones on gimbals, all of the cloud production with the switching, the graphics, the distribution to all of their points, and their audience engagement, all in the cloud and all with iPhones. And we talk about quality, and I understand there is a degradation from professional quality a little bit right now, but the latest iPhone can do 4K 60 Dolby Vision, right? What is the iPhone 2 or 3 years from now going to do? Now iPhones have a U1 chip in them. We know 3-axis accelerometer with millimeter wave utilization. The bandwidth profiles that I can create will allow me to do things like do optical meshes where I can bring all of these cameras together, stitch them together, and fly virtual cameras through a production like a video game engine. And it sounds sci-fi. If we were to talk about it 3 years ago, people probably think you were crazy. But now, I mean, it's right ahead of us. And I think one of the things that'll probably turn a lot of our strategies on their ear is the emergence of AR. And more we see Apple, Google, all of these companies really refining that technology. And once we move to a more three-dimensional space, the kinds of experiences that we'll be able to overlay. I see in one of the questions, like someone said, it'd be really cool to see all my fantasy players like ISO'd and put together in my environment. And I think totally within the next 3 years, you'll have that ability where you will sign in to whatever fantasy league you're utilizing via some kind of login. Your graphics will be completely personalized and done on the device, but the processing power that you can do with a smart television or your iPhone, and it'll be relevant to all of the data points that you want to see. You'll be able to scale through all of the video that you've purchased access to, and then you'll also be able to host parties and watch that with friends, both in person or remotely. And so I think it really does give the fan back the control of how they want to consume the content. But for the leagues, it gives them the ability to really change a model that has been fixed for the last 50 years of how they do things. And I often say to my team that we'll know we made it when we make a product, a software product, a microservice, that its full job is to take the three-dimensional landscape that we've created for production and just down convert it to a flat image that someone can watch on an old school, mounted on your wall television. And I know that kind of sounds futuristic, but it really isn't if you're following the trends. And then you start to look at what you can do with automated production based on all those data points and the synchronized video feeds that you're providing, utilizing things like machine learning and AI. They're already doing remote editing packages that way, editing packages for highlights at halftime. There's no reason that won't continue to scale and become more efficient till we're editing your own highlights and catching you up to live when you join, and the experience is based on the device and the other people that you're enjoying the experience with automatically.
No, absolutely. And, that's a use case that keeps coming up for us with increasing frequency. We've started to have internal discussions about things like, hey, does it make sense to start having a universal time clock to synchronize everything against? And obviously we think it would. So, that's really interesting. Also talking about the way that, this becomes so ubiquitous that it's actually down-resing it back to like boring two-dimensional to get it for the folks that are still holding out with their, lean back experience at home. But, that it doesn't sound all that futuristic. I mean, it sounds like the way, technology always tends to iterate against itself. So I really appreciate that. I guess, does anybody else have any, really interesting use cases that they've been, talking about either just theoretically with their customers or actual deployments that you have in progress right now that you think would be interesting to share with everybody that we're talking to at the moment?
Brad, maybe yes, complementing Jared comments, what I think, I really think they are very, very good comments about the possibilities of 5G. Actually, many of the services we are powering today on the handset side, on the player side, are possible only with 5G, because new services like AI or like multi-view, where you need to consume several video streams at the same time, they are possible only with 5G. So I think that it's really, we are talking now about the future, about new use cases. So 5G will be, I think, a mandatory network condition for many of the services we are talking about now.
Excellent. And by the way, if anybody in the audience wants to ask us any questions, feel free. There's a little question section over there to the right. So, I guess, what other innovations are you seeing in the space? Yang, I think you said you had some interesting you had an interesting new client that you'd be lighting in the very near future as a real-time UGC-oriented client.
Yeah, so there's a customer in Japan. I mentioned it's a watch party app. So they use it to actually as a marketing tool to increase their audience base. So you can invite non-audience to watch the content with you, and I think that's going to be a very effective way to do marketing. And also some of the other ways they can monetize the services, that probably they can charge a premium for people to be able to host watch parties, etc. And there's another demo or proof of concept we have is for volumetric video. So basically, instead of you have multiple angles on different windows on your device, you can slide, for example, the screen to move smoothly from one angle to the other while the game is playing on. So, for example, if you're watching baseball, you can look at different angles by sliding the screen. You can pick which angle you want to watch at the same
So that's interesting.
in real time.
So let me ask you a question about that.
So
do you accomplish that with like a ring of cameras, and then you're literally just sliding between those various views with more of like almost a virtual video canvas?
Exactly. So you have up to 32 or 64 cameras around the stadium. You have those video feeds simultaneously available at the same time. So we enable the user to smoothly this. You see no gaps, no transition at all. It's like just just like you have a 360 video. You can slide and select which part you want to watch. So I think that's something that the sports fan will be really enjoy.
Yeah, for sure. You know, it's funny. It makes me think of some of what Jared had been talking about even, you know, you're talking still about fixed production cameras. You know, Jared's talking about folks basically holding their iPhone or their, you know, Android phone up from their seat. And, you know, the truth is, with how sophisticated AI has gotten lately, I mean, my gosh, you know, even just up-resing content from standard definition to 4K is something that you used to have the original footage for and recapture and do it that way. And now you don't even need to do that. There are home enthusiasts taking their favorite TV shows that never were going to get digitally remastered and like totally up-resing them now. So I feel like to apply that same concept to what Jared had been talking about, you know, at the end of the day, you could take those different camera views that are completely user-generated, and then for the stuff that's missing in between, I bet we will come to a point pretty quickly where the AI could even fill some of that detail in for us. So that's pretty wild. And then, you know, the other thing I find myself thinking about, you know, you were talking, Jared, about like the potential of 3D. You know, look, all you need are just a few different angles. And so again, if you've got a few different real-time streams that are all pointing from different views at the same point, you know, you really have that. You really have that experience enabled pretty quickly.
You think about how easy it is to locate those phones in space. Those phones now talk to each other with the embedded chipsets in it. And inside the iPhone right now, it's doing like 1 trillion machine learning calculations a second. Every time you take a picture with the iPhone, it's not a real picture. It's a meta image it's putting together because of data it's bringing in from 3 different lenses. Well, those just happen to be on the same device. Those could be 100 different lenses on various different iPhones that don't even have to be held up by people. They can just be mounted in different places as well. But the cost, the affordability of them is they're so much cheaper than what you'd have to spend for a large broadcast camera. I also have phones that have started recording at different points in time. And if I know where each frame is regarding a global clock like you were talking about, I can add additional frames and create virtual frames that allow me to do things like super slow-mo and the ability to zoom in and all of this kind of stuff. It's like once we have that technology where we're doing with the fog Internet of Things of phones, the same thing that the phones are doing themselves online, is it's going to completely change the way we capture video and give people the ability to like you can do in VR right now, which is kind of still a little wonky, but be the drummer, you know, see the concert from the view of the drummer, right? See the field from the view of the player themselves. The technology is no longer, I think, the limiting factor. I think the limiting factor is us breaking out of the paradigm and thinking differently about how we create and consume content.
It also, frankly, sounds to me like we're going to be entering an era very quickly where you're going to have super fans that are going to dispute the official calls on different plays in the games because they're going to have their own unique view and be able to have a totally different perspective than, you know, the referee or whoever necessarily did right there on the field. So that's really interesting. Well, folks, I feel like we're getting close to the end here. Are there any final thoughts you guys want to share? Any final things you want to say about the projects you have coming down the pike?
Yeah, I just want to mention something about 5G. I think 5G, the immediate benefit is you can provide a better user experience to end users. You can support higher resolution, low latency, and things like VR, etc. But it also enable other applications, things like cloud gaming. They will require much higher bandwidth and low latency, and that's potentially a huge market as well. So they are opening up. 5G is opening up a lot of opportunities.
Thank you. All right. Carlos,
From my
any
side,
final thoughts? Yeah.
Yeah. So I've been living in this streaming industry for a while, and in the past, there were big problems in terms of standards. People were using different technology on the back end. There were different technologies being standardized by the different standard bodies. There were proprietary solutions, but now we are really in a great situation because the basic technology, which is at the end video streaming, is there. Everybody is using the same technology, and now all these services with value added for the end customers don't have any barriers anymore. And I think partnerships are now more important than ever between different companies. And we don't have anymore the problem of lack of standards, lack of decisions for a particular signalization. So I think we are now in a very, very good point of time to innovate and to finally surprise the end users with new level of interaction and video services. So a very good moment to make new things right now.
For sure. For sure. Thank you, Carlos. And Jared, any final thoughts you want to share with the panel?
I'll just say thank you. It was great hearing everyone's take on this. And I think we're kind of in a renaissance for what's happening in media right now. And it was interesting to hear what Carlos and Yang had to say about how they're approaching that. I totally agree with the partnership thing. You know, there's this whole platform war where everyone's trying to be the platform, the media platform, and the ideas that are winning are those companies that are forming partnerships and ecosystems. So I completely agree with what Carlos is saying there. It's a different way of working. And then the final thing I would say is it's a different way of working with our customers, because it's all about a higher level of customization, personalization, and being able to solve customers' problems in real time. You know, you take what the broadcast industry used to do from a pace of innovation, which was there were two major trade shows in the broadcast industry. There were NAB and there were IBC. And NAB is where everyone promised you they were going to give you some new technology, and IBC is where they may possibly have delivered it. And now with new DevOps principles, with cloud infrastructure, with the ability to partner and utilize SDKs, I can bring something to market in a matter of days that I used to not be able to bring to market in a year. So I'm really excited. I love the ideas. I really appreciate the partnership with Agora and all that we've been able to create. And I think we're just getting started.
For sure. Thank you, Jared. And Yang, any final thoughts before we turn the panel back over to Todd?
Yeah, thank you for having me here. So I really appreciate the partnership with Agora. We have been Agora has been very good partners for us. They're very supportive, very responsive, and your technology has proven to be proven to have very high quality technologies and flexible APIs, etc. And I think with this new dimension of real-time interactivity, the partnership between us and Agora or similar companies is very important to provide a uniform, ubiquitous, enhanced experience to the audience. So really appreciate that.
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate that. And I want to thank everybody, both to my panelists as well as to all of my audience members that hung in and stuck around. Please check your upcoming schedule for some exciting new things we have. There's also a bit of a performance coming up in 4 minutes. And in the meantime, I'm going to hand things back over to my esteemed colleague, Todd, who will help close out the session. Thank you, everybody.
So I guess I have to do that. Brett, thank you very, very much. That was amazing, super fun. As a sports enthusiast, I love some of the talk around that, and the augmentation to anything happening in person, real time events. That was super fun. So thank you, Brad, and thank you to our amazing panelists, Yang Tsai from VisualOn, Jared Timmins from TVUNetworks, and Carlos Lucas from NexStreaming. And of course, thank you to you, our viewers, for attending this amazing session. The fun doesn't stop here at RTE2021. We have Harry Mack coming up. This is going to be so cool. He's going to be performing live. And for those interested in attending tomorrow, I'm going to be moderating our Startup Battleground, where 9 startups leveraging real-time engagement, our finalists from over 100 startups that applied, hailing from all over the globe, are going to be pitching to 3 venture capital judges live for the first time, and the winner is going to walk away with $10,000 cash. So be sure to come back tomorrow and tune in starting at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific to see that show. That's all for now. Thanks again to our moderator, Brad, panelists, and you, our audience, for attending. Let's go watch Harry Mack.